Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. So so today was a really off day, and I don't know, it's just one of those days. So I just figured I'd come on here and chat because, and by the way, this is not a beer, this is an Oz. I love these things, but I don't drink them all the time. Today was a very off day. I went through the motions of, waking up, doing my schoolwork and all that stuff, and it just felt like I was going through the motions. When you have those days where you're just going through the motions, it's not, you're kind of like on autopilot. I mean, you retain all the information, all that stuff, but it just feels off. And that's okay. I mean, not every day is going to be, again, rainbows and butterflies and perfect and whatnot. And, I've been wanting to do a video about this, and I've been kind of wishy-washy about it, like, just personally going back and forth on it, because it is such a touchy subject. And so I don't really know where this video is going to go. I know I say that a lot, but it might be hard to follow. I'm not entirely sure, so we'll just kind of see where this goes. I am just so tired of my mental health being so poor. Okay, now let me explain that. Like, I am usually in good, high spirits, good solid mental health, but on those shitty days when the depression or anxiety takes over, it's honestly shitty. And I'm just really tired of those days, It's kind of funny. I was sitting here after I was done the schoolwork, and I was just kind of like relaxing and stuff, and I don't know where this got to in my head, but I don't remember. I mean, I do. I remember a time when, I was happy and easygoing and I didn't have a million problems mentally or, just the usual adult life. I was, a typical kid, and I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that's kind of still a thing. It will always be a thing. But, I was so full of energy and life and stuff. And then, to be, I'm not one of those people that be like, just because I'm diagnosed with all these things, so I've been diagnosed with ADHD, of course, when I was a child, anxiety, depression, PTSD, Stockholm Syndrome, OCD, and kind of IBS, but that deals with the anxiety part. That's a whole TMI thing that a lot of people are, yeah. Anyways, we won't touch that one, but it's just, I have never been one to be like, oh, it's because of my depression. Like, I am not one to put blame on any of the things that I've been diagnosed with. That's just not who I am. I don't use it as a crutch. I don't use it as an excuse. I just carry on with life. Yes, sometimes, I do not certain times, like, I react and do certain things, but that is just because of my mental health. But again, I don't use it as an excuse. I don't use it as a crutch. And like, I get it why people, you know, it's easy to blame it, you know. It's really easy to be like, oh, I'm feeling low because of my depression, or, you know, I'm freaking out because of whatever. You know, it is very easy for somebody to kind of lean on that and just blame it on that because it's easy. It's, you know, it's a title, and, you know, it gives it a power, right? And it's not an excuse. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm doing this, or I'm this way because of that, you know. And, you know, I totally, you know, respect people that, you know, choose to go down that path. That is their decision. And, you know, I respect them for how they handle shit. Like, you know, everybody handles things differently. For me, I'm not a type of person to use it as a crutch, or an excuse. I, you know, tend to go things full head on. You know, yes, I do have all of these things, but that they don't control me, they don't stop me. I'm just gonna go on, you know. And yeah, you know, when I'm freaking out or my anxiety kicks in, it's shitty and I don't like it. Sorry, my throat is dry as hell tonight. And I know how, you know, some people are gonna take this the wrong way. And, you know, I respect that. You know, everybody is bound for their opinions and stuff. And again, I respect that. You know, people are all gonna view this differently and, you know, take this in as they will. And I totally respect that. Just for me personally, it's just, you know, I can see past my diagnosis and my mental health. And even though it is completely exhausting to deal with on a daily basis, you know, I always find ways around it, or to deal with it, or to just keep on moving forward. Yeah, there are some days where I do not want to get out of bed. I don't want to deal with anything. And, you know, I take that moment to give myself a little self-pity. Like, you know, I have that moment of being like, you know, deal with your emotions and stuff. But I always find a way to get up. Granted, I know how hard it can be for other people. There's a whole bunch of other situations, you know, you are way tougher than mine. People are, you know, homeless. They're dealing with the mental health in a way different severity of mine. I'm not comparing situations because that's not who I am. I'm just saying that I understand and respect there are many different situations out there where things are different lifestyles, different ways that they were raised. You know, I understand that and I respect that. Again, I am not comparing anything. I'm just kind of stating the fact that there are way worse situations out there. You know, and one thing I've learned that's helped me, again, this was just personal. I'm not stating that you have to do this. Because again, people deal with things differently. It's, you know, I had to deal with my trauma. And am I still dealing with my trauma? Of course. I feel like that's always going to be a part of my life. And that's, again, not to use it as a crutch. It just does guide me. Not guide me, but like it has me dealing with things differently for certain situations. Again, not using it as a crutch. It's just kind of, it's hard to explain. But I always, you know, I used to hate it. You know, I didn't blame anybody. Yes, I was a very angry person, but I never blamed anybody. I mostly blamed myself, you know. And once I started dealing with my trauma and talking about it, and you know, I do a lot of writing, and there was a time when I couldn't, you know, voice it. Like, I wasn't ready to talk about it, but I incorporated it. I talked about this in a story I wrote. And again, I changed it around a little bit, but it was basically the same thing. And that was one way of me kind of working through my trauma and coming face to face with it, verbalizing it. And I really think that has been a really good process for my mental health and my trauma that I went through. Sometimes, yes, it is very, very exhausting, when I have the nightmares, and it's kind of like a constant reminder. They don't happen all the time, but they do sneak up on me, and it does shake me a little bit. It does shake me to the core sometimes, and that kind of triggers my depression and whatnot. But I am always constantly moving forward. I don't feel stuck anymore. I don't feel as stuck as I used to be. And certain situations I do feel stuck, and I kind of beat myself up a little bit about it, but I always do move forward. I try to move forward. There was a point where I was extremely stuck, and I didn't know what to do or how to go about anything. I was just stuck in a one mode of making everybody happy, And then once I got unstuck and started dealing with everything and walking through the processes and, seeing a counselor and a therapist, again, not for everybody, it's interesting. I don't really talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it here because this is a thing. So for my anxiety and depression, I am on medication. It is not for everybody. I'm not saying you should take it. Granted, I know there are lots of different, medications out there. Some people choose not to go on medication, and I totally respect that and support that decision. Again, I'm not saying it is for everybody. For me personally, it works for me. And it's something that I needed. Learning about it, that through all the trauma and stuff that I went through, something in my brain became chemically unbalanced, trauma and all that stuff. And I needed those medications to help balance everything out. And it did take me a good while to get on a good medication. And, I struggled with it. I really struggled with it. I really struggled with the fact that, I not that I had this fantasy of, like, getting on this medication and everything will be rainbows and butterflies. I never had that envision. When I came to the conclusion of myself that I needed help, and when I started on these medications and it made things a lot worse, I questioned it. I was very angry, and my skin, I felt like I was crawling out of my skin. Not a good feeling. And it was a little bit discouraging. But once I got on the right medication, it did help. It started to allow me to deal with everything. And again, granted, not for everybody. But for me personally, that was part of my journey. And there are days, when I get into my really low points, and I'm not saying that every day is like this. It's just once in a while I do have a crash, and depression hits hard, and I carry on and stuff. But when I'm in that state of mind, and it's very weird to talk about. Like, I'm not ashamed of it at all. It's just really kind of weird to voice it out there. But, when I sit there and I stare at this medication, I literally just sit there and stare at it and I say, what is the point? You know, is it helping? You know, is it really truly helping? And logically, I know yes, 100% yes. And I know I would be completely worse off if I went off of it. But I get angry at the medication, you know? It's weird. Again, granted, I don't always think like this. This is just when I have a crash, and I don't crash all the time, guys, just pointing that out. You know, I just get angry at the medication when I'm in my low point and be like, you know, why can't I just be normal? You know, why do I have to deal with all of this? Why do I have to be the one with these mental health issues? And I just get angry at it, you know? I have never stopped taking my medication. I am proud of myself for that, because I know that I'm worse off without it. And, you know, I just kind of zone in, throw my frustrations at the medication. It's like I'm talking to a person. A little crazy, I know, but, you know, we're there. And I just take them and carry on. I think for me, it's kind of like as not tunnel vision, but it is just a kind of, what's the word am I looking for? This is a struggle today. Just a point. I can't think of the word, but it will come to me. But I'm just gonna, you know, describe it. Just kind of a point where I can kind of ground myself, zone in on that, put my frustrations there, and then move on. You know, before I used to slam a lot of doors and get really aggressive and angry and emotional. Now it's kind of like I just get really quiet and I dump my emotions in one area and then I can continue on. And again, granted, that's for me personally, might not work for you guys. You know, I'm just saying that this is what I went through personally, and it's a little unhealthy, I know. But, you know, you kind of find your best kind of okay, great job, Jess. Speak English tonight. But things that help you and allow you to move forward and continue on. I know how exhausting it can be. Again, I don't know everybody's situation. And yeah, do a lot of people not want to get help? Of course. You know, there is that stigma out there of mental health, how it's overshared and all that stuff. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand it, especially the older generation. And that's not to shit upon anybody. It's just, you know, they grew up in a different time when there wasn't a lot of mental health problems. You know, the world was different at that time. People were different back then. And I'm not talking about like 100 to 200 years ago. I'm talking about like 40 to 50 to 60 years ago, you know. Things were different, and that's not a long timeline or gap of time to, you know, my age. But, you know, and a lot of people, you know, again, they say, oh, I'm this way because of this, blah, blah, blah. That is the way of dealing and handling with it, you know, and I respect that. It just makes me sad when they want to treat it as they don't have control over their actions, you know. It just makes me sad because they kind of disassociate from themselves, that it's just like, oh, it was the da-da-da doing it, not me. It just makes me sad to say, because it's just sad to say. Sad to see, because it's like, your mental health is you. You know, and yes, it is scary to be labeled with all these, you know, titles and stuff, and, you know, it's nothing to be ashamed about. And yes, it is easier to disassociate from it and, you know, see it as a completely different person. And yeah, it is exhausting to deal with. And yes, it would be easier to do that, just to disassociate. But, you know, I decided for me, it was, from my path, I had to work with it, if that makes any sense. That yes, just because I do have all of these things doesn't mean I can't work with it. It is a part of who I am. I am not ashamed of it. Does it suck? Yes. Do I wish that I didn't have to deal with all of this stuff? Yes. But that doesn't mean I hate it, if that makes sense. I mean, there are some days, yes, I do hate it and I get frustrated, but I don't hate it because it's a part of me. It would be like hating myself. And again, not all days are rainbows and butterflies, and yes, there are some days, where I do hate it, which entitles me to hate me, but I work through that. I work through my feelings, I work through the steps, I proceed on. And granted, that doesn't work for everybody. Everybody chooses how they deal with things and handle things differently. And yes, is it a struggle, and is it frustrating sometimes to see somebody run away from, not that they run away from it, but again, they just disassociate and they kind of just want to treat it as a different person. But again, I have to respect people's decisions and, support them the best way I can. Sometimes, yes, I do have to walk away from situations because it is very unhealthy. It is mentally draining and exhausting for me, and I don't want me to be triggered and being in that dark spot. So again, it's all about trying to find that balance and, respecting boundaries. And it is exhausting. Mental health is freaking exhausting, guys. It is a challenge. It is frustrating. It's great sometimes, and I know how that sounds. But I've come to love it in a weird way, if that makes sense. Because, I love myself. And yes, I have flaws. Yes, I am not perfect. And I love all of those things about me. And even though sometimes I'm frustrated and exhausted and angry, I still choose to work with it and move forward. So that was kind of like my little spill of the night. What am I even saying? Anyways, that is my conversation that I wanted to have tonight because, today's just been a day of a little bit of a mental battle. So, I am going to take a deep breath, hang out, watch a movie tonight, get some good sleep, hopefully, and start a new day tomorrow, and we'll see what that day brings. Anyways, guys, I hope your Monday was off to a better start than me. I mean, not that it was all bad for me, but, a little bit of mental struggle, but that's okay. Anyways, guys, remember, never give up, always keep fighting. You are enough, and you are very much loved. Bye.